Hey everyone, welcome to this week's live stream with RumCask. Today, Indy Anand is here with Sly Augustin, owner of Trailer Happiness, one of the world's best rum bars, to talk all about running a rum bar. So I'm Will Hookinga from Zavvy.co, and real quickly, I'm going to turn things over to Indy and Sly in just a second. But before we do that, wanted to go over real quickly the agenda for y'all today. So first of all, on your right, as you've probably already noticed, there is a chat box. Tell us where you're tuning in from. We've got Corey from Oregon, Douglas from Coventry, Matt from Toronto. So we're already worldwide, guys. That's pretty awesome. There's also on the bottom a question box. So if you have a question for Indy or Sly at any point, ask it there. These guys are going to save some time for Q&A later on. They're going to spend about 30 to 40 minutes talking about the main topic, and then we'll save time for Q&A at the end. So send in your questions in that question box at the bottom. But yeah, with all that said, Indy, I will turn things over to you now.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Will. Really appreciate you guys. Firstly, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out from your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Really, really cool to see a great bunch of people joining us. So for our topic this week, we really wanted to give you something a little bit different. And we thought we're all really big rum fans. And we thought we wanted to give you an experience and understanding about people who run rum bars. And when we wanted to bring in an owner, we wanted to bring in an owner of iconic rum bar, not just in London and the UK where we are, not just in Europe, but actually in the global rum world. We want to bring you like someone that's an ever-present member of the London cocktail scene for almost 20 years. So we went with Sly Augustin from Trailer Happiness Cocktail Lounge. Sly, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us.
How you doing, man? Thank you for that amazing intro. Oh, do you know what? One thing, let me just do this real quick.
I think you might be echoing a little bit.
Yeah, hold on. Check 1, 2.
Much better, much better. There we go.
It's gonna happen.
How are you doing, Sly? I hear you've been busy in the last few days.
I love technology. I love technology because we did this yesterday and everything was absolutely amazing. And now it's just madness. It's just echo town. Hold on 1 sec.
No problem, no problem.
Right. Say some words.
I'm here for you, Sly. I don't think I hear an echo. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Not getting any echo over here.
Perfect.
Oh, I'm just gonna have to keep the because remember I forgot I had headphones on when we tested, so I have to keep the volume kind of low. Hopefully, I can still hear you guys. It'll be all right. So yeah, thank you for that amazing intro. So I haven't been an ever present. Well, I've been an ever present at Trailer Happiness since it opened. I've only really got involved in the cocktail scene in a professional capacity since I took Trailer as one of the owners at that point in 2012.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still relatively fresh.
No, 8 years is a long time, Sly. 8 years.
It's starting to feel like it as well now. Yeah.
So how are you doing at the moment? What's going on? You seem to be a little bit busy recently with what's going on with Trailer.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously there's a lot going on for everybody, and for me in particular, it's a very strange, surreal kind of time because obviously you're trying to keep momentum and kind of stay in a positive mindset, but also having to be very mindful and understand the realities of what we're dealing with. So I'm just trying to put the business in a position where it can sustain whatever it is that's coming.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I hear you. Okay, so for our viewers now who don't know much about the history of about Trailer Happiness, should we talk a little bit about the history?
Yeah, so Trailer Happiness originally it's been a few bars before it became Trailer Happiness. So it started off as a bar called South Bar, actually, which I think was around the 90s, maybe even the 80s.
Wow.
Like really, really way back in the day. It was South Bar, and that was there for ages, and it was kind of like a regular, like a local bar and restaurant. And used to have like cabarets and stuff downstairs. It was just a very strange little place. A lot of shenanigans went on down there, so not much has changed in that regard. But the real birth of Trailer Happiness as it is today really started with Canvas Bar.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people have been posting pictures of themselves, how they looked 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully nobody's beating this. Like Trailer Happiness, you know, what's this? 18 years ago. So 18 years ago, late 90s, early 2000s, this is the space and the bar that would become Trailer Happiness. And I think it's appropriate that it's called Canvas, because it was literally a canvas for Trailer Happiness. I mean, look at this.
That is so different. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's actually quite mental when you think about it. So you see that floor, that's a white floor in a bar. I want you to understand just how like ball up, blinged out, like art house you have to be to open a bar with a white floor. That's
amazing.
As you can imagine, it didn't remain white for that long. I'm currently doing some minor refurbishments to the space, and I can tell you that I discovered a piece of that floor. I think it's one of the few corners that have remained covered. Like the restoration of Trailer, that part has always been covered, and I managed to actually find a piece of the original white floor, which does look pretty awesome. But yeah, bonkers, absolutely bonkers. I think during like the 90s, there was a whole scene of style bars, and they were all kind of, you know what I mean? They were all like neon and minimalist.
Yeah, very 90s.
You know, that was really big back then. So Canvas was around for a couple of years, I think maybe 2 or 3 years. And you know, I don't think that, you know, the market was, it was a difficult thing. Actually, if you go back to slide number 8, it's one of the things I loved about this bar, is mental. In the window, can you see those frames?
Yep.
So inside each one of those frames would be a piece of artwork. I'm not sure what was in it at that time, but I remember at one point they just had 3 nipples. It's like,
you can actually see one on the orange one.
You can kind of get an idea of like the concept of the original concept for this kind of high-end art bar. And I went there actually a couple of times, and the owner, who actually I'm in contact with now on Facebook, really cool guy, and it was a really nice bar. But at some point he decided to call it a day. Jonathan Downey from the infamous Jonathan Downey, who also owned Milk and Honey, The Player, Tiny Robot, Giant Robot, Street Feast, all kinds of stuff, like a real kind of visionary, and somebody who's leading the kind of the push for rent-free, or the call for a kind of rent amnesty for the hospitality industry at the moment, which is, you know, incredibly needed, because obviously you've got bars at the moment that are paying rent for spaces they cannot use, and rent is almost, you know, without question, the biggest overhead for most bars, and it's just not sustainable to be paying. We're already like what, 3 months in or beyond that, can't even keep up with the time, but you know, there's a new rent cut due, and it's going to be, I think the next rent, which is coming in a couple of weeks, we might see, you know, some more bad news. Hopefully, I hope Trailer won't be included in that, but you know,
fingers crossed. We're all rooting for you guys, man. All rooting for you guys, absolutely. Okay, that's really cool to see the evolution. So what does it look like now? I don't think we really got to see too many of the pictures of it now for our viewers who haven't made it down to Trailer Happiness yet.
Yeah, so Trailer Happiness now kind of reinvented itself as a kind of a lounge California bachelor pad, and I think that kind of the wood paneling and that Scandinavian, because mid-century and Scandinavian are kind of not interchangeable, but there's a lot of crossover between the two styles. So it made a lot of sense to take the bar in that direction. And then once you go mid-century Americana and you look at what was the kind of de facto cocktail culture of that time, and what fits with the space, then tiki was definitely, you know, the way to go. So it ended up, Trade Happiness ended up being opened, and it was this amazing and something very new in the area as well. Tiki bar, but with a strong emphasis on the rums, obviously.
As you can see from that amazing looking cocktail.
Right, that's one of my favorites, the Basic Beach. I think actually we're doing trying to think. Oh, we had to switch it out. We're doing a takeover of Undertow this weekend. Yeah, so they're doing kits. So anybody stateside, if you're in the vicinity of Undertow, you can get yourself a couple of cocktail kits for a couple of our drinks that we do. Yeah, that's to help us raise some dough.
Amazing. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's all about the support, and that's cool to be able to support the US side of things as well, because it can be tough for that across the pond work of anything.
Yeah,
so
I'm representing Green Zone right now.
In DC, yeah.
My guys like DC. I got a little bit of Brazil in there, Gelatina, because it is very much, you know, the community, like the hospitality community, is global, so we all feel it. You know, we all feel it.
Absolutely.
And for me, there's no distinction between whether it's a bar in East London or a bar in New York or wherever. It's all the same fam. You know what I mean? So it's very 100%. Much a collective, shared experience at the moment.
I think that's very true. It's a very good point, and also I think that's a great kind of way to lead on to what I was going to actually ask you next. Is obviously you're a massive rum fan, as we could see from your background, and the many bottles.
That's a Photoshop.
You got a screen pulled up, have you?
Yeah, I got a screen grab from Keegan's basement.
Keegan gets mentioned in every talk, guaranteed. Has to be. So obviously, being a massive rum fan and owning a rum bar, there's a lot of crossover that happens. But also, like, there's got to be times when you, as a rum aficionado, and then as a rum businessman, there's got to be times when that comes to head as well. What's that like?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you know, it's definitely a balance that you have to find when you own a rum bar, because first and foremost, you know, if you own a rum bar, you've chosen to be niche. You know, you've chosen to go into a field which is still, in terms of the premium side of things, which is still kind of finding its feet and just kind of showing its weight and showing its value more and more over the last, I'd say, kind of 3 or 4 years. We've seen a real kind of momentum build. But for the general public, rum is still not associated with premium. Agreed. So, you know, you have to keep the baby alive. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, you want to promote the thing that you love, the brand that you love, and you want to showcase rum in its best way. So for me, you know, a lot of time I just kind of carry on. I don't really invest too much of my time conversing with people who don't like. Listen, I'm always the guy. I'm not interested in having an 8-hour conversation about what you don't like. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I had the honor and the privilege of visiting Steve Remsburg at his home with some of the rum family out in New Orleans. And the one thing that struck me is we sat there for a good couple hours and we just drank rum. Is we didn't spend any time talking about what we didn't like in the rum world. You know, we just let our focus rest on the rums that we enjoyed. Now, obviously, there's gonna be conversations that need to be had because they directly impact the future of rum. So that's fine. That's a different thing, like the politics of it and everything else. Sure. That's a different situation, and that's also something that is, like you say, it's a balancing act, and it's a thing that you have to be mindful of. But you know, just to give an example, Trailer Happiness. When I bought Trailer Happiness and didn't really understand the mechanics and the business behind running a bar, because it is a business first and foremost.
100%.
You know, it was brands that some people like to kind of shun and like to kind of ridicule are the reason that Trailer Happiness is open, and the reason that Trailer Happiness is now able to showcase the brands that these people love and able to showcase the smaller brands and some of the, you know, bespoke bottlings and stuff that comes through. So for me, there's a symbiosis, and the whole thing is part of it's a whole. You don't just have, do you know what I mean? You don't just have one section of it. It's a
diverse category. And yeah, no, I could see that from your point of view. It's going to be really, really tough when you know exactly what you enjoy, but at the end of the day, you have a business to run, and you couldn't just sell stuff that you enjoy, because there's other people out there with different taste profiles who you wouldn't be able to serve.
Yeah, and I would say it's not even difficult for me personally. It's not difficult for me. It's difficult sometimes to, if I have a conversation, to make somebody understand the whole picture. But you know, I tell you this, man, like some of the best drinks I've ever tasted in terms of a cocktail bar and cocktails, the very rudimentary, you know what I mean? Not bad. Like there's a level. There's certain rums that are just not making it into my bar. But you know, if you stick to the basic principles of rum, right? Like rum is delicious. You stick to the basic principles of rum. At the very worst, you're gonna have a rum that you can make a decent cocktail out of.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, you know, it's not. I wouldn't say it was a difficult situation, but sometimes I have to kind of check myself, because what happens is I'll end up throwing dozens of bottles of independent bottlings, super rare rums, and the majority of my consumers don't care or are not prepared to spend the price for it, and B, you know, some of my bar team who are relatively new don't yet understand the rum that's on the back bar, so they can't sell it either. They don't know how to sell a product. They haven't been trained on it. So the rum enthusiast does need to chill sometimes, and do you know what I mean? And just let things happen in you know, as and when they're supposed to.
That makes total sense. You know, at the end of the day, it is a business, and you've got an amazing staff team around you who do such amazing work. Whenever I go to Trailer, I know I can talk to any one of your team, and they're all really good. And every time I go, there's always something new, which I think is a great testament to yourself, because I think you're always there going, guys, try the stuff, see what you like, find different things in the rums, because you never know what someone's going to come into Trailer and ask. And if you've got an answer for them, if they go, you know, I drink whatever, if you've got an answer for them and go, you know what, try this instead, this is new. And I find that happens a lot in Trailer, and that's a really cool side of Trailer that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, we're never going to have every rum that somebody wants. So, you know, if you come, you know, we're not going to have every one of your favorite rums at any given time. They come and go. But I'll always aim to have at least, you know, 30% of your top 10. No matter which human you are. If a person comes into my bar and they're a rum fan, or, you know, any kind of, I want to have 30% of your top 10 rums. You know, that's just maths. I just pulled it out of my ass. But anyway, just at least, but you know what I mean? But that kind of ratio for everybody, I want to be able to fulfill that. And I think that's enough for people to be like, okay, cool. You know, this is a place I can regularly come and drink at.
I think that's a great point, and it is very much a community bar as well. And the fact that you do have that massive diverse selection to really showcase a lot of the rum category really helps solidify that community aspect of Trailer, because anyone can go there, like you say, and whether they drink whatever they drink, it doesn't matter, because you'll have something that will appeal to their palate. And I think as a bar owner, you need that, and that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's like during this whole thing, you really start to understand like the role that your bar plays and how it kind of fits into the general landscape of things. You know, and I think it's important. And one thing that I've really kind of realized is it's important to know what it is that you're trying to do with your bar, like what purpose does your bar serve, you know, and what is the kind of the ethos and the reason for your bar to exist, right? Because bars are like bands, right? So if you look at like musical bands, like bars are like bands, and some bands are meticulously curated and constructed.
Yep.
And it's still great, you know. Some bands that were put together are great bands, and some bands are off key, bit weird. Do you know what I mean? But they make great music. But it's important that you understand what kind of music you know what I mean, you're trying to play, because otherwise it's just a mess. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's something that Trailer has been good at. Do you know what I mean? Is kind of like having a consistent sound.